Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise, really distill the essential insights, and help you get genuinely well informed fast.
That's the goal.
Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating deep dive. It's a specific devotional text from the Ellen G. White estate.
Mm.
Our mission really is to pull out the core insights from just this one piece of writing. It's a daily devotional entry for June 19th.
Just one day's entry.
Exactly.
Where
And understand its wider context, within the estate's, frankly, remarkable global work and its historical weight. We're hunting for those surprising facts, those foundational ideas that really built a global vision.
Yeah, and what's so insightful here, I think, is how just a short devotional can almost act like a condensed blueprint.
A blueprint, how so?
Well, it reveals not just, a personal moment, but also a pretty profound biblical interpretation and a powerful strategic call to action.
Yeah.
It sort of laid the groundwork for a really significant global mission. So we'll explore how these pieces fit together, connect the dots, and see why that message, well, it still resonates today.
Okay, so as we peel back the layers here, it sounds like we're finding more than just a message. It's almost like you said, a blueprint for how this really intense personal conviction could spark a whole global movement.
Precisely.
Let's start with understanding the source itself then. We're looking at material from the Ellen G. White estate, an organization focused entirely on sharing the vision of Ellen White.
Right. And this estate, you have to understand, it's pretty extensive,
Extensive how?
which is key really to grasping its reach. It has branch offices in places like the Adventist University of Africa in Kenya,
Okay.
Andrews University in Michigan in the US, Loma Linda University out in California.
Right, right.
And then there are also research centers, spread out across Europe and Asia, France, Korea, Portugal specifically. This global footprint, it isn't just about having addresses everywhere. It speaks volumes, really, about the widespread impact and the ongoing work tied to Ellen White's writings.
And it's not just physical places, is it? Their digital footprint is, well, it's remarkable.
Hmm.
It strikes me how early and how, extensively they seem to have embraced technology to get the word out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, from old CD-ROMs back in the
Oh,
day
yeah, I remember those.
to now modern EGW writings apps for, well, pretty much every major platform,
Yeah.
plus audiobooks, ebooks, study guides.
And in so many languages.
Yes, countless languages. You look at the list, it's Africans to Xhosa.
Hmm.
What does that commitment, that kind of varied and wide reach, tell us about the core vision here?
Well, it's pretty clear the estate is dedicated fundamentally to preserving and crucially disseminating a truly vast body of work.
Right.
Devotionals, biographies, these major collections like Conflict of the Ages,
Mhm.
Testimonies for the Church.
Foundational text.
Exactly. And this commitment to digital, to multilingual outreach, it demonstrates a core belief, doesn't it? That these messages are seen as universally vital.
Mhm.
They feel they must reach the ends of the earth, echoing that missionary spirit we're actually going to see right in the devotional itself.
Ah, interesting connection.
And they also highlight key pioneers,
Yeah.
figures like William Miller, James White, Joseph Bates.
Right, alongside Ellen White herself.
Yeah, these were the foundational figures, you could say. Their early struggles, their unwavering belief directly informed this persistent global missionary vision.
Okay,
The vision we see kind of encapsulated in Ellen White's later writings. So that gives us a crucial historical framework for this deep dive.
got it. So let's dive into that specific devotional now. This Day with God, June 19th, page 179.
Hmm?
And what's really striking as you start reading it is how it begins. Not with some grand theological point, but with this very personal glimpse.
Yeah, a vignette from her own life. It opens with her looking at her watch. It's 2 o'clock, Tuesday morning, June 19th.
2 a.m.
2 a.m.,
Hmm.
dressing, seeking the Lord, trying to write, as she puts it, a few words to go in the mail to Africa this morning.
Wow.
And this isn't just a random detail. It feels like a symbolic anchor.
How so?
Well, she masterfully uses this really intense personal moment, waking at 2 a.m., to to ground this huge, almost overwhelming global mission in something intensely human, something relatable, an act of personal sacrifice.
Okay, I see that. And what's remarkable then is how, right after that personal detail, the devotional immediately links it to this powerful Bible verse, Isaiah 49.6.
That's right. It quotes. And he said, "It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles, that thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth."
So connecting her letter writing to being a light to the Gentiles, to the ends of the earth.
She's basically saying, look, my small early morning effort right now, writing this letter to Africa, it's actually part of something immense, something prophesied thousands of years ago, being a light to the whole world.
That's a powerful framing.
It is. But what makes it even more powerful, I think, is how she then juxtaposes this huge divine promise with, well, the very human feeling of discouragement.
Oh, interesting. How does she do that?
She even cites the verse just before it, Isaiah 49.4, where it says, I have labored in vain, I have spent my strength for naught and in vain.
Wow. That's quite an admission of struggle.
Yet surely my judgment is with the Lord and my work with my God. It's this raw honesty, this blend of the divine command and the deep human struggle. It makes the call to action feel maybe achievable for her followers.
Right. Not just some abstract ideal.
Exactly. It's like seeing a single ripple start in a pond, but knowing somehow it's destined to reach every shore.
Okay, so this incredible personal drive, starting from that 2 a.m. dedication,
Hmm.
it wasn't exactly smooth sailing, was it?
No, not at all.
The devotional, which, as you mentioned, we know, comes from a specific letter, letter 86, June 19, 1900, to A.G. Daniels.
Mm.
It doesn't really shy away from the challenges,
Yeah.
the profound difficulties Ellen White and the mission faced.
Hmm.
Externally, sure, but maybe even more surprisingly, from within, too.
Right. It highlights that, quote, all the warnings must be given. The truth, Bible truth, is to be proclaimed.
Okay, so get the message out.
In our large camp meetings, and the churches can hear the truth. But then it immediately notes,
Yeah.
all may not desire to hear. Many oppose everything that calls for self-denial. They are not willing to accept the Sabbath.
Ah, the Sabbath. That's a key point of contention, isn't it?
A central one. And the text explicitly brings in Exodus 31, verses 12 to 18, which is, a foundational passage for the Seventh day Adventist understanding of the Sabbath.
Right.
Ellen White uses this to really underscore that accepting the Sabbath isn't just like a religious preference, it's framed as a covenant.
With consequences.
With, as she puts it, decided consequences for rejection. So it frames the whole missionary work as having these eternal stakes. It's not just about persuasion.
And what's particularly compelling or maybe uh, confronting here is that the text directly addresses resistance from within the ranks.
Yes.
It says, many of the ministers will not hear and be convinced. They will not enter the sanctuary of truth,
That's striking, isn't it, ministers?
but will take away the key of knowledge from the people by perversion of the scriptures, wresting the word of God from its true meaning.
Wow. That must have been incredibly disheartening.
Absolutely.
How did her writings, and this devotional specifically, advise dealing with that kind of internal dissent? Was it about, stronger leadership or more about appealing to individual conviction? What was the approach?
Well, it's easy to focus on, the external opposition, people outside the group rejecting the message.
Sure.
But this emphasis on ministers who will not hear, that suggests a deeper, maybe more painful challenge. The internal integrity of the mission itself.
Right. That's where the real test comes in.
Yeah.
That's where the true test of conviction lies. Exactly. And the devotional explicitly outlines the difficulty. It says, thus, every step gained in reaching the people requires a hard, constant battle.
A constant battle.
Yet, despite acknowledging this constant struggle, the answer to the question, should this battle stop, is a clear, resounding no.
Unwavering.
It's a call to unwavering persistence, even when the opposition comes from, well, unexpected places, from within.
So the devotional wraps up with this really powerful call to action, doesn't it? It kind of encapsulates the whole vision.
It does.
Lift up the standard, plant memorials of God's truth in every place possible, work in new territories, and conversions will be made.
Mm-hmm.
A clear directive.
So, what does this all mean when we step back? I mean, this single devotional, written from a letter way back in 1900, it really lays out a comprehensive, persistent, and incredibly globally ambitious mission.
And it's not just about, immediate direct conversions either.
Oh, what else? It also mentions that, quote, some who do not take their stand at once will help advance the work with their means and their sympathy.
Ah, interesting. Different levels of support.
And will themselves take their position on the Lord's side.
This reflects a remarkably strategic approach, I think.
So
It acknowledges and actually values different forms of support and contribution. It recognizes that commitment isn't always instant, it can grow over time.
Right. It's practical.
It's a blueprint for building a truly resilient, sort of distributed movement. Not everyone has to be on the front lines immediately.
And the ultimate vision laid out is just so clear. God will have representatives in every place in all parts of the world.
Hmm. Total global reach.
Then there's that thought for the day at the very end.
Right, from DA 83.
If we are Christ's, our sweetest thoughts will be of him.
Hmm. It feels like that perfectly summarizes the driving force behind all this ambition, doesn't it?
It really does.
It suggests this relentless focus, this dedication. It all stems from a deep internal commitment.
It's exactly, which then propels every external action. From that 2 a.m. letter writing
Right back to the beginning.
all the way to a global missionary effort.
Right.
That thought really emphasizes that the outward, the comprehensive global strategy we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally rooted in a profound personal spiritual conviction.
So it's not just a set of instructions.
No, it's more like an overflowing of an inner state, a really powerful connection between personal devotion and global action.
So we've taken quite a deep dive here into this powerful devotional from June 19th, a message that's over a century old.
Hmm.
But it blends that intense personal sacrifice we saw at the start, a very clear biblical directive, and this determined, globally ambitious missionary mandate.
Yeah.
We've really seen how one letter, started in the dead of night, can outline this unwavering purpose even when facing huge challenges both outside and, importantly, inside.
And we've seen that vision, every member a missionary, not just as, a religious slogan,
No.
but as a practical framework. A framework for persistent, distributed effort for overcoming obstacles and for inspiring commitment through this blend of personal example and clear strategic direction.
So, as you, the listener, reflect on this, maybe consider the enduring power of that kind of singular, deeply held conviction.
Hmm.
What kind of dedication, really, what kind of 2 a.m. resolve could fuel such a global and long lasting movement? Especially when, as we saw, it faced significant internal dissent as well as external opposition.
Yeah, and that maybe raises a final question for you to think about. How does this particular blend, this mix of deep personal conviction, strategic outreach, and that unwavering persistence we saw described in this devotional,
Yeah.
how does that inform your understanding of what really drives any successful, long lasting movement or organization that you encounter in the world today? What are those core ingredients?